Is it hard to get a suppressor, a silencer? How long does it take? Well, we're going to talk about all those things and much more with Brandon Maddox from Silencer Central. I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Primary Weapon Systems, Range Ready Studios, Silencer Central, Remington Ammunition, Guns and Gear Television, and MGM Targets. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Brandon Maddox from Silencer Central. Welcome in, man.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, sir.
All right, so Silencer Central, I like a name that you don't have to guess what it's about.
Yeah, totally.
We do silencers.
Yep.
People ask me about like names for companies. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty literal with my names. Yeah. We have a show that talks about guns. We call it Gun Talk. I don't want people guessing.
Yeah, totally. I like it.
So talk about maybe how this thing started, because I kind of was there to witness it from the back seats. I saw you doing your thing. You had a different helping people with FFLs and then, I mean, it used to be Dakota Silencer.
Yeah. So, honestly, I started shooting prairie dogs in the prairies of South Dakota. My wife's from South Dakota. So
Okay.
that's how I ended up there.
Gotcha.
Yep. Actually moved there from the South. So
That's how it happens.
Yeah,
My wife is in South Louisiana. Why are you guys based in South Louisiana? Well, that's how it happens.
Totally. So, just sort of this whole idea of people would back then they would pay you to come shoot prairie dogs. They were excited for you to come. They would offer ammo. I mean, it was like, they want to make it easy.
Yeah.
So I got into shooting prairie dogs and I realized, they're fairly astute. You shoot a few times and they go under. So it's like, how do we mitigate that? How do we, make them not think I'm there? So, went down the process of buying a suppressor, and the gun store warned me it was going to be a horrible process, and they were right.
That's interesting that the gun store would almost try to steer you away from it.
Oh, they totally try to talk me out of getting one. They're just like, you're not going to like the process. It's not our expertise. We don't sell that many. We don't do it that often. We only get one guy in charge of the process. He's rarely here because he's the owner's son.
Right.
It was
that's why they didn't want you to mess with it.
Yeah,
they couldn't do it.
Yeah, pretty much. So, after I bought the first one, it really wasn't the right one for me. So then I went through the second one again with them, and it was so painful that I said, I'm going to get my own license and do it myself.
Have you always been a guy who doesn't mind the details, minutia, paperwork?
I think so.
Is that your personality?
I think it's like part of me being a pharmacist, right?
Yeah.
Because prescription, right?
It's
Doctor.
details.
Yeah. It's totally buttoned down because you can kill someone if you give them the wrong medication. I think that's part of it. It's funny because at our office, we typically only let the females deal with the paperwork part.
They're better at it.
Yeah, totally. They're more detail oriented. So, but yeah, you got to be buttoned down.
Yeah. I mean, because my personality is like, oh, never mind. I'm steer away from that. I mean, we've talked about this. This is probably why most people don't, if they don't own a silencer, it's probably why they don't.
100%. Yeah. Almost everyone says that. It's the process.
Yeah.
So that was our whole business model. So if the process is the obstacle to keep someone from buying a suppressor, then let's make the process super easy so that once they go through it, they're like, gosh, that was easy. I want to do another one. And I want to tell 10 of my friends. And that's kind of been the model since day one.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what happens. If you can make the process easy, or here's my pro tip for you guys. Just always have one in process.
There you go.
So there's always okay, here comes another one. Here comes another one. Because I think what happens is people go, I'll get a 30 cal can and it'll work on a bunch of things, which is true. But then you start going, I just want to have it on all my guns. It's just it's like having a scope for every gun. Yes, you can take a scope on and off of different guns, but who wants to do that?
I agree.
And sight it in and all that stuff.
Totally. 100%. What's interesting though, is what we're seeing is the ATF actually has to pay the FBI to do that background check. So we have people that say let's just say they have 5 pending and they've gotten one every other month throughout the year. ATF's approving all of them at once.
Oh,
I've seen that in the past.
Interesting. Maybe it's
like
more
they batch
efficient.
them. Yeah, they batch them together. So now that it's all e-forms and digital, they could pull up anyone with a social security number.
Sure,
it's the same, and they could tell that they have pending, and they can just push them all through at once.
It's not a stack of papers.
Right.
Yeah, they can look up your social or whatever it is, right?
And of course, they save money because they have to pay the FBI to do the background check. So it's just one background check instead of 5. So yeah, it's interesting.
That makes sense.
I mean, it sounds like a sales
Interesting.
pitch. I hear my sales guys talk about it. I'm like, is that legit? They're like, oh yeah, it's true. And I went and checked with our accounting and administrator. They're like, oh yeah, it happens every day.
It happens.
So, oh yeah.
So that last one you put in may end up happening a lot faster than it should.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe. Interesting. Yeah. That's cool. So, you guys made the process easy. And I've been through it several times. I mean, it's all digital, which I love.
Perfect.
I'm a guy, you email me stuff, I'll get back to you.
Oh yeah.
DocuSign, easy.
Yep.
Just upload a picture from your phone, easy.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
The fingerprints, you still have to mail them like the kit, right?
Yeah. So if they're a repeat customer, we keep them on file.
Okay.
But if it's a new customer, we'll send them the fingerprint cards and ink where they just roll their own. And we show a little video on how to do it. So and then we just scan it in, then we have it digitally from now on.
And then it's just off to the races.
Yeah. and it does help with the ATF process because the ATF has a system where you can print out your application once you submit it and then mail fingerprints in like hard copy, but we just upload it all at once. So then the ATF's able to do background check quicker and get you approved quicker.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is the question that you perhaps hate to answer, but okay, we are filming this in June of 23. People are always asking about wait times, and you guys, I'm sure, are tracking that to some degree. And what's the answer? What's the feedback on how long does it take?
It is something like,
it's not consistent.
Yeah. But right now we're at about 280 days is what our average is internally.
Okay.
I've seen it when they're really pushing e-forms really, really hard. Sometimes it gets down to like 190, 185 days. So I've seen a little bit of a fluctuation. The ATF, my problem is I always want to believe people when they tell me something. And the ATF says they want to be at 90 days by the end of the year. I kind of feel like they're heading that direction.
Really? So it seems to be getting a little faster.
It does. I feel like that, I met with their new number 2 at Orchid Convention recently, compliance event. I asked for a private meeting with ATF, typically when shot and also Orchid, and got to know their new number 2 guy. And I think they got beat up really hard by congressmen, congressional meetings. He said they had 6 meetings. They got, beat up pretty bad for us, delayed in times. And why is it taking so long to get these approved? And I think that it's got to have helped.
That's encouraging to hear that if we ask our congressman and we hammer them and say, I want you to ask the ATF, what's up with this?
Yes, totally.
It's working.
Yes, totally. Because, like NSSF would say, hey, we've been making sure you have money to fund this department. I think they have 20 openings right now that they're still trying to fill for examiners in the NFA branch. They'll only speed it up more.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff kind of pent up there. But I feel like it's heading in the right direction. Of course, I've said that before and it didn't. But,
who knows?
Yes, that's
the government.
That's the hard part. And, what's interesting, too, is when wait times go down, demand actually does go up. So at some point they start. But, if they say they want to be at 90 days by the end of the year, economy's probably a little softer, I bet they hit it.
Okay. All right. Quick break after this. I want to talk about the suppressors you guys actually sell and your own line. If you want to hit targets at further distances, you have to have the right gear. And that includes the ammo. So introducing Remington's premier long range. Exclusively from Remington, Spear's groundbreaking impact bullet is finally available in loaded ammunition. Tough, bonded construction, high ballistic coefficient, premier tier components, and match grade accuracy means Premier Long Range is ready to perform at any distance you are. This is Remington's highest quality big game ammunition yet, available in a wide variety of big game calibers. You can learn more at Remington.com. Well, it's been 15 seasons of Guns and Gear, and we're about to start another one. But we kind of have some big news about Guns and Gear. For the first 3 months of our run, which is July, August, September, we're going to be on a new network, the Outdoor Channel. And I think a lot of people will be excited about that because it's just another place to discover the show. Be ready to set your DVRs or just tune in live Wednesday nights, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern, and you'll find Guns and Gear. It'll be running throughout the week at other times, but those are the premier times. On the Outdoor Channel, be sure to tune in. Primary Weapon Systems, known for really good AR-15 rifles, but also suppressors, and that's kind of a new thing for them. The BDE 762 suppressor, Bravo Delta Echo, revolutionary suppressor from Primary Weapon Systems, 3D printed titanium. Titanium means it's lighter and it's stronger. Modular
designed and ships with removable baffles, which ensure and enable modification of the length and the noise reduction rate. And if you want to make it shorter, a little bit lighter. Also compatible with universal pattern mounts, so you can mount it a lot of different ways, whether that's direct thread or the other ways. It has PVD coating on the outside for a durable finish, taper threaded baffles, and it's very accurate, symmetrical internal baffle notches increase accuracy. They actually are kind of hired some suppressor veterans in the space. You can learn more at primaryweapons.com. I always think of summer as shotgun season. It's kind of a time to get out to the Clays range, get tuned up for the hunting season, and just get some trigger time, right? Well, technically, you're not supposed to be looking at your gun when you're shooting flying objects, right? You're supposed to be looking at the target. But you still need some sort of sight on the end of your gun. And to that end, HI-VIZ Sights has several great options for you. A nice bright fiber optic like a Lightwave H3 or an MC series magnetic front sight helps you not have to look at the sight, but it kind of shows up in your peripheral while you're looking at the target and helps you break more birds, kill more birds, break more clays. So you can learn more at HI-VIZsights.com.
All right, so Brandon, you guys are, I guess, agnostic when it comes to silencers. You want everybody to own them, use them. You sell a bunch of different lines, but you also have your own line.
Absolutely.
So how did that start? When did it start? I mean, how did this come to be, the Banished line?
Yeah, good question. So what happened was, we'd work a lot of gun shows, January, February, March, a little bit into April. And we needed so many suppressors. And years ago, you could either buy direct or go through a wholesaler. Honestly, no one could really supply us. I mean, when you're selling
you just needed more.
Yeah, I just couldn't get them. So it's hard to go to a show and sell something if you didn't know if you could get it. That's the worst feeling. Sell someone something, they feel like you took their money, and you can't get it through either the manufacturer or the wholesaler. So what we did is the first company we went to, we just did white label. We said, hey, can you put our name on your designs and we'll just sell those. And then we'll order 250, 500 at a time and just, make an order a week or something like that. That's kind of how we first started. That was around say 2010, 2011. And then we had feedback for them on how they could enhance their product, and they weren't too interested in that. So then it was like, all right, we got to find probably another manufacturer that's willing to sort of partner with us and help us make the suppressor designs we wanted. Typically, our customers will always want lightweight, so we typically focus on titanium, and then typically they want to come apart to clean. So that's kind of been the hallmark of the Banished line of suppressors is lightweight, really strong components, titanium, and it also comes apart to clean, so they get the carbon out and clean it out.
Right.
So that's kind of been but that's how it started, honestly, is we just couldn't get supply. But as we've evolved over time, customers come to us and said, do you sell other things? The answer is 100% yes. We sell anything. It's just typically it's been easier for us to get the Banished line because we have it on the shelf.
Right.
But now we've started working really well with some of the other larger manufacturers where we keep a lot of their inventory on our shelf as well. So it's worked out really well. So if someone says, hey, I don't see something on your website, just call us. We can get anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and probably you guys have maybe perhaps even more feedback than a smaller suppressor company.
Yeah.
Just thinking about like you guys seem to be on top of people are wanting lighter. People are wanting to be able to take apart to clean.
Yeah.
Universal mounts.
Yes.
I mean, those are types of things. And it seems like you're not, there's no dogma with like, well, it has to be this way.
Yeah. No, totally. 100% open to whatever. I think it helped at Silencer Central. We started at shows. So we were actually face-to-face with a customer.
Right.
And, I always say I could tell in their eyes if they're going to buy or if they're interested, just to get that face-to-face contact. It's not like we think we have a good product, then we launch it. It's like we've gotten feedback where people have really pushed us and said, hey, you got to make something like this.
Thousands of face-to-face interactions.
100%. And that's honestly how we made the process easier too, because you get feedback like, hey, this was horrible. You got to fix this. And then, at the next show, I'd say, hey, I fixed that. Is it working better? Yes. Or, just iterative back and forth for the last, 18 years. It really has helped fine tune the process.
So where are we at today with suppressors? Because it seems like they're more popular than ever.
Totally.
And I mean, what's popular? Where are we headed? Where do you see things headed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so last year there was about 800,000 that were processed through the ATF, suppressor applications, Form 4s. So I suspect for 2023, we'll probably have 1 million go through. Yeah, so that's a huge number because we probably only have 3.5 million in total existence that have ever been made.
No kidding.
Yeah, so to be able to
So we're going to increase that number in 1 year by 25%.
Yeah, significantly. I think it's going to only continue to grow. I think that, hopefully our efforts at Silencer Central, making the process simple, mailing it to your front door, helping you get whatever you want, let you pay while you wait, thread and barrels, all those different services we offer. Hopefully the message is sort of spreading. What I do find it's interesting is most people own several.
Yeah.
So I always say there's like a small group of people that own most of them. So they just got to tell their friends. I think it only continues to grow. I don't see any negatives. It's not a public safety issue, so I don't see politicians or ATF trying to clamp down further.
Why do you say that?
If you look at any type of crimes used with a silencer or suppressor, 99.9% of the time is a homemade one. They didn't go through the NFA process. Because even if you look at the groups that are trying to ban silencers, the examples they use are things that weren't even made through the NFA process. They were homemade, mag flashlight converted, whatever.
Right.
They weren't even registered. So I just feel like that, even right before Trump got in, the ATF sort of olive branch to him, hey, we would be open to deregulating them. And that's what started the whole discussion of,
wow.
So I think that most elected officials and the federal regulatory body would say it's not a public safety issue for our suppressors. Look in Europe, they're very readily available. I was in Africa a couple months ago and you can buy them in the gun store. They're not serialized. You just buy it over the counter.
I mean, it's like in a clamshell. You just pull it off the rack and just pay for it.
Totally, 100%.
Isn't that amazing?
It's crazy.
How much do you think that the fact that silencers are easier and just basically not really regulated in other countries like Europe, Africa, how much does that affect maybe perhaps the politicians or certain people with certain politics here who tend to lean on, well, I just don't like them. It's a gun thing.
Yeah.
I see it in movies and it's bad in movies, which is a wild thing to me too.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do they go, well, it's legal in Europe, and they go, oh, really?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, as you know, it's all about education. Once you educate people, and you'll even hear politicians say, well, I'm for suppressors, but I'm not for silencers. They don't realize that they're the same.
Yeah.
So, it's a 100% educational thing. But the big benefit is the more people that own these, the more people are going to be in a position to educate elected officials, which I think only helps us long term. I mean, there's been a couple states this year where I've had to spend a lot of money in lobbying efforts to try to avert where a state, New Mexico, Colorado, some states were trying to make silencers illegal, tie it into something else. So couple scares there, but other than that, I'm thinking we're safe, especially at a federal level. Could be some states, Washington State, some of the Oregon, some of those states you never can tell, but I'm optimistic it's going to continue to grow. Because when I first started doing this, they were not legal in Iowa or Minnesota, right next door to me, and now they are. So
yeah. Well, another area where it's becoming very popular is for hunting and also shooters on the PRS long range. After a quick break, let's talk about the growth in that area.
Sure.
The newest in the SIG SAUER family of P365s is the X Macro TAC Ops. Cool name. What does it mean? Well, it's a macro, which means it's the bigger P365, and the TAC Ops adds a few more features. A new enhanced slide catch lever, a little bit bigger, and a metal flared detachable mag well to make the most of those extra magazines. You actually get extra magazines with this gun. Mag well at the bottom, kind of a flared funnel, helps you get those reloads in quicker. And I will say, Chris Serino has been out on the range with this thing, and he tells me it's a bleeping bleep laser beam. Comes with 4 17-round steel magazines with HI-VIZ followers. It's kind of the tricked out big boy of the P365 family. You can learn more at sigsauer.com. You keep hearing us talk about Range Ready Studios. It's our training division, and we're just really big about getting people trained up and proficient and comfortable with their guns. A lot of you guys have bought guns over the years, and new guns, maybe stuff that you weren't as familiar with, AR-15s, but have you gotten any training? Have you taken a class? And honestly, we don't care if you take it from us, from someone else, but we do have a lot of classes we've been conducting, and we have a lot of coming up that we're about to announce. So go over to rangereadystudios.com, sign up for the email list. You'll be the first to know about the new classes dropping later this year, and they're classes that are going to be affiliated with a lot of cool companies that you know and love. So go check it out, rangereadystudios.com. One of the new ones from Ruger is just simply a fun gun. It's the Super Wrangler. Now, the Wrangler came out a few years back, single action 22 LR revolver. Now, the Super Wrangler, 22 LR and 22 Magnum. So you get two different cylinders with the gun, and they have it in several different Cerakote colors, a bronze Cerakote, silver, and then also a black Cerakote. And adding that 22 mag to it just lets you do a little bit more with it. Could be a hunting gun, could be great for trapping, kind of a little woods walk gun. And then just reaching out to further distances, have a little bit more power, but still a very controllable gun. These are built like a tank. They just run, they feel great, and they're fun to shoot. Go check them out at Ruger.com. Silencer Central right now has a BOGO sale. Buy one, get one. Buy a Banished, get a Banished 22K. Limited release of their 22K suppressor, free with the purchase of Banished suppressors. You can learn more at their website, or you can actually call 866-891-4494, which tells you there's actually real people there that can advise you on how to do the process of buying a suppressor. Which suppressor do you need? There are people there waiting to help you out, and they make the process really easy. To learn more, go to silencercentral.com.
So Brandon, this isn't, we have the Gun Talk Hunt podcast, and we have the Gun Talk Nation, which I try to let KJ cover most hunting stuff.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you can't talk about silencers and Silencer Central without talking about hunting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I always say it's our roots because we started in South Dakota. And most of my customers were like I was, shooting prairie dogs or coyotes.
Yeah.
So the ability to be able to, the joke I always give is if, a guy calls in 3 coyotes, how many of those 3 does he want to shoot? The answer is 4.
Right.
So it's like, you want to be able to shoot everything that comes out there. The suppressor gives you the best chance of that, especially with, varmints, because they can't tell which direction the shot came from. So they really don't know which direction to run in if they do hear a shot. But no, I feel like it's gotten super popular in hunting. Just, if you look at the market, a lot of people are sort of fighting over that tactical space. And Silencer Central has always really been focused in the hunting space just because that was our roots. And that lightweight really sells well for putting on the end of the barrel, the titanium.
Yeah.
Coming apart to clean is a good sort of message for a hunter as well. So it's worked out really well. And just the ability to suppress all rifles now, even the straight wall cartridges, where some states require you to use a straight wall cartridge for deer hunting, to have suppressors come in really in the last 5 years for that market. It's only a win-win because you're able to reduce the recoil, and then typically you don't have to wear earplugs. And some people might be hunting with family, friends, or even dogs, and to be able to kind of protect everyone's ears is a huge benefit.
I will say probably, and I've done a lot of hunting in the last 2 or 3 years, and most of it is suppressed. And between myself and then people I'm hunting with or some other stories I've heard, it's probably the best piece of hunting gear that I own is a suppressor. I have no interest in hunting without one because, like you said, the recoil reduction, wonderful.
Yeah.
I think when you shoot an animal, you don't hear the gunshot, even unsuppressed. You don't hear it.
Yeah.
But if you're the buddy with them, you hear it.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if you're in like a box blind or something like that. Holy smokes. That's like a sound chamber.
Yeah.
Kids being more comfortable shooting.
Yep.
A couple stories that come to mind. I had a buddy who was in Colorado, very good shooter, not as much of a hunter, but a shooter guy. Yep. Shoots 3 guns, stuff like that.
Yeah. And
a couple of his buddies. And they're on this elk hunt. He had, I think it was, day 5, 6, 7, I don't know. It was into the hunt and finally had an elk that was a shooter. A little further shot. He shot, he missed.
Yeah.
But it was a clean miss.
Yep.
Suppressed.
Perfect.
The elk stood there.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh man, let me adjust. Let me re-engage. Shoots the elk, kills the elk.
Perfect.
We had another guy, 150 yards on a whitetail, shoots and misses. Don't ask me why. I don't know how he missed this, but he missed. Whitetail kind of took a couple steps, looks around, kind of like, what was that? Right? Shoots the whitetail, kills it.
Right.
And it's just stories like that over and over and over about, and not just misses, right?
Yeah.
But just getting follow-up shots, or if you're talking about coyotes, pigs, that kind of thing, you shoot them and you just get, they hear it, but they don't know what it was. They don't know where it came from.
Right.
And, I mean, talk about the backcountry, because I've got old suppressors and I've got new ones.
Yeah.
And the old ones were longer, heavier, still like them, but not as conducive. But the backcountry is really what people are going to start using.
Yeah, I just see totally a trend that. And as I talk to other manufacturers, that's a trend they're going to move to start making too.
Mm-hmm.
So the backcountry, I read an article the other day, it said it's lighter than your cell phone. I weighed my cell phone. It was right. I mean, my cell phone's, heavier than 7.8 ounces. But no, yeah, I feel like the market's moving to that. And I always give the story that, I'm spoiled. My staff sort of sights my rifle in. And I got to a hunt and I saw the backcountry on there. First, I'm like, oh my gosh, that thing's so short, it can't be quiet.
Right.
Because I wasn't a part of the testing. But I'm like, all right, it's sighted in. I'm stuck with it. I've traveled to South Texas. I shot it and I fell in love with it. I was like, I'm 100% obsessed with it now. Took it to Africa and hunted with it. Yeah, it's impressive to be able to put 5.5 inches on there, so you're not adding that much length after you screw it on. And, to be able to mitigate the recoil, for it to be hearing safe on a 300 RUM.
Yeah.
100% titanium is definitely the way to go.
Long range shooting is probably one of the hotter things in shooting these days.
Right.
Well, it's funny how you will go through, it was cowboy action, and then it was 3-gun, and lately it's PRS, long range shooting, that kind of thing. What percentage do you think of long range shooting competitions or the shooters are shooting suppressed?
It varies. There for a while, there weren't many because people weren't familiar with them. Then there for a while, almost everyone got them. And then it's sort of like people, sort of on the fence. Like, does it help? Does it hurt? Is it a distraction? I mean, I always say the hole through the middle of the suppressor is bigger than the bullet. So nothing's touching. So it's not going to negatively impact your accuracy.
Are there people that worry about it affecting accuracy?
I think it's in your head sometimes. But, if you look at it, it's going to increase your repeatability. Just by having that extra weight on the end of the barrel.
Yeah.
And also by helping with the recoil, it's going to help your repeatability. So it's going to help your accuracy. So you're really at a disadvantage if you're not using a suppressor.
Well, and also when we talk about like reduced recoil for those guys and gals, when you're talking about 500, 700, 1,000 yards, you want to see your misses. Well, heck, you want to see your hits too, but being able to stay in the scope because there's not a lot of recoil, that's a big help.
Totally. And we were talking about the 22-250 earlier. Not a whole lot of recoil, but if you're at a long shot, just a slight jump can, distort it where you can't see if you hit a prairie dog per se. And to have that suppressor on there to mitigate that recoil and reduce it, it's a huge benefit.
Yeah. You've talked to so many customers over the years. What are some of the stories that you hear? I mean, what are the revelations when they go, oh my gosh, why did I wait so long? Or what are they using it for?
Yeah. It's funny because I'm a pharmacist by trade. So my family, I think, thought, why would you go and work gun shows?
Sure.
And you could be working in a pharmacy and make a whole lot more. But I told my wife, I just got obsessed with this whole idea of people walk up, didn't really know much about a suppressor, and to get them interested, get them to buy one, and then see the look on their face when they came back later and tell me how their hunt went with it. 100% of people are like, just like you said, I wish I'd done this years ago. Yeah. So to me, that was like super satisfying for someone. It's like the ultimate challenge, right? A guy walks up, has no understanding of how to get a suppressor and the benefits to him. You convince him it's something he needs. You're probably a little aggressive, tell him he needs to go forward with it. He does it. I mean, it's a hard sell, right? They're giving you their money.
Right.
And they're hoping that they get their product. I mean, like there's this like, who is this guy? And is he going to show back up? And that's why I feel like I had to work gun shows for so many years. People saw, hey, he keeps coming and people are enjoying it. But no, for me, it was the ultimate sort of, like satisfaction when they would come back and say, oh, I absolutely loved it. Probably one of the best calls I got is I got a guy called me one day while he was hunting and he's like, oh my God, I just shot a deer and it fell down and the other deer is still sitting there eating right by him. Like, don't even realize anything happened. It's like, this is, he was just like, amazing. He was just flipping out. Like, I can't believe this is actually happening. This can't be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hear those stories all the time. I mean, you hear people who shot and missed, but then a bigger one came over the hill. So then they were able, because it was quiet, the next one came up and they were able to get a good shot on that one that they wouldn't have had a shot at. It wouldn't even have come up if it could have heard it. Right. So, what I saw in Africa was the tracker, the guy who's got to find that thing if you don't get the kill shot. He would love to be able to hear that shot at the impact.
Oh, sure.
Because typically the blast is so loud, you can't tell the impact. But when you have when you hear that impact of that bullet, I used to say with a prairie dog, it sounded like a wet rag. You're just kind of popping it. When you hit it, you could tell it's a kill shot.
Yeah.
So that's perfect for the hunter to be able to tell too that, hey, that was a solid shot. That
more
hit
input.
bone. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, more input. Now I need to put another one in him, or it's down, or whatever it is.
Totally, yeah. So many benefits for hunting. I think it's going to only continue to grow. I mean, I tell you, like a lot of the people, like some of the influencers in the industry, like, we were paying these people to represent us. We were having trouble getting them to like do their paperwork. We're like, no, we'll give you one free. But once they got through it and once they started using it, now they're calling us going, dude, I am hooked. Why did we do this sooner?
Yep.
And we made it so easy for them. Like I said, we were giving it to them free just to try it out and tell their followers about it. But once they got hooked, I'll see them at events. They're like, oh, I'm totally hooked. That was smart for you to give me one. I love it.
Yeah. Is 22, is that still the starting place for most people, or are they skipping ahead?
Most people buy a 30 and use it on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
6.5, 300 blackout, 223. They'll just get 130 and use it on everything.
All right. A question that's a selfish question for me, because it's something I've run into, is if you have we'll use the example of a 9mm can.
Yep.
And it's set up to shoot on pistols.
Yep.
And then you screw it onto a 9mm carbine.
Yep.
You need a piston in there?
Yep. So the piston always stays in there because that's what has your threads. But they have like this little adapter that you take the spring out and then you slide this little adapter on there. And then so basically you don't need the spring for it to cycle like you do for a pistol.
Right.
So you're basically just taking it off.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a
You
little.
swap it out.
Yeah. It's a little aluminum sleeve that replaces the spring on there. And then it works great because I have that same thing with my machine guns.
Yeah. Yeah. I may have put a 9mm can on a carbine, and then in slow motion, we saw it jiggling back and forth and went, whoa, that's not right.
No.
And it didn't hit it. We didn't have a baffle strike or anything.
Yeah.
So we kind of lucked out on those shots.
Yeah. It's called a fixed barrel spacer, but I think they're $20 or something.
Yeah. That's how we learn lessons, folks. You do things wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's better. I thought you were going to say someone used a rifle on a pistol can or something like that. Yeah.
That's another one, right? Yeah. You guys see people do it wrong.
Yeah, occasionally, not as much as you would think. Occasionally, I mean, we warranty all the Banished line for everything. So
okay,
even stupid. So we just replace the baffles and send it back.
Yeah. What else right now are people kind of hot on with you guys? What are they enjoying?
A lot of people ask about the trust.
Yeah.
Because a lot of local gun stores won't recommend a trust because it's a little bit more complex and it adds an expense to. In other words, the dealer hates to recommend something that's going to add expense that could be a deterrent to keep you from buying a suppressor.
Right.
So a lot of people will come to us and say, hey, I don't really need a trust, do I? And I say, well, we give it to you free, so why wouldn't you? And really the benefit of the trust is you can share it, the suppressor, other people can use it while you're not there, and also you can pick who gets it when you pass away.
Okay.
So the NFA gun trust is definitely the way to go.
Do people typically, I mean, it's like, do they designate beneficiaries of the trust right away when you set it up?
Yeah, and you can always change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So typically someone will pick, maybe their youngest child, and then if they have grandkids later, it's easy to switch, and we can help you do that.
You mentioned it earlier, but it was pretty quick. Barrel threading.
Yes. That's always like I always said, our whole goal at Silencer Central was to overcome obstacles. People didn't want to pay all of it up front, so we let them pay while they wait. Mm-hmm. People didn't want to drive to a store to pick it up, so we mail it to their front door. Mm-hmm. People wanted trust, so we got it created. We give it to them free. Barrel threading was a big thing. People would come up, and I could just tell by looking at them, they're like, I don't know who's going to thread my gun.
How am I going to put this on my gun?
Yeah, and I don't know if I trust the local guy, and what kind of machinery do they need, and how do I know they have the right threads to fit your suppressor?
Mm-hmm.
And so we at Silencer Central, we'll mail you, we call it a 360 program. We'll mail you a rifle case. You put your rifle in it, you ship it to us, we thread it, we ship it back, you get to keep the case.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Put our name on it, of course. But
yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Silencer Central, you heard it, folks. I mean, you guys make it easy.
No, we try. Yeah. It's been 18 years. It took a long time, but we're getting it.
And then the dangerous part is once you're set up.
Yeah, we got to get the system.
Done.
It's easier to get it.
We already have your fingerprints.
Totally.
It's as simple as just buy one, and we don't even almost need anything from you.
Yeah,
so
it's really easy.
Brandon, thanks for being on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, that's it for us. We'll see you guys next time on Gun Talk Nation.